You're listening to Pink Lady Presents, only on LA Talk Radio.
I'm gonna live till I die. I'm gonna laugh instead of cry. I'm gonna take the town and turn it upside down. I'm gonna live until I die.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Pink Lady Presents It Ain't Over Till You Say It's Over. I am so excited to be here every week with every one of you. I say to somebody, I love this, take life one day at a time. For life is 10% what you make it, and 90% how and where you take it. I have to tell you, my life has been a wonderful, absolute great merry-go-round. Some people will say it's a roller coaster. I like merry-go-round better. You can do what I did, and I mean reinvent yourself at any age you want. I happen to do it at 70. So just to show you an idea, Los Angeles Family Magazine came out with this picture of me when I was 70, which is 15 3/4 years ago. And I had just won a contest, Ms. Senior, LA County. And that began my whole new career of reinventing myself into the entertainment field. The entertainment field is a fascinating field. As much as we think that it's a huge one, basically the people in it are a family, small, passionate, and dedicated. The power is only within yourself. It's believing you can and knowing you are the only one who can change things. My guest today definitely has changed a lot of things in her life. Lily Holleman. I mean, I'm looking at her right now, and so are you. And what I'm seeing is definitely my grandchild. I mean, there's no question about it. And actually, you really could be my grandchild.
I accept.
Thank you so much. An actress, a working actress, and I say that with pride and knowing what you do. A working actress, television, film, I mean, radio, you name it. And stage, definitely. But what she also has done, and we'll talk about your career afterwards, but what she's also done, Dove and I were reading, is taken an historic entity, something that never, ever should have been put in jeopardy, and revitalized it. And what that is was the Los Angeles Breakfast Club. I mean, just the name alone, gives me a chill. It sounds so exciting and everything. Tell me, Lily, why, with a going career like you have, why did you decide to take a chance and help an entity out to stay alive?
Well, the Los Angeles Breakfast Club is a 93-year-old organization.
93-year young.
93-year young, yes, of course.
Okay.
It was founded in 1925 by the big business tycoons of that era of Edward Doe Haney and Edgar Rice Burroughs and Cecil B. DeMille and Carl Laemmle, Uncle Carl.
Oh boy, yeah.
Uncle Carl Laemmle was the president of the club for quite a while, and now I am the president of the club. I am a huge Hollywood history fan, and so it gives me chills to know that I've stepped in the footsteps of this great giant and all the giants before me at this club. And I discovered it in 2013.
How did you discover it?
I found a picture of Red Skelton performing at the club in the back of the SAG-AFTRA magazine. And I noticed the address was in my neighborhood of Los Feliz, and I was fascinated immediately. Some other entity kind of took me over. I looked up the club, its history. I found out it still existed and still met every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. It was 5 minutes. 7 a.m.
Okay.
5 minutes from my house, and it was like a calling. I found myself driving there at 6:45.
Really?
The very next Wednesday. I showed up, and it was like finding the lost city of Atlantis. It was this time capsule that I had never experienced before. There's a live pianist, there's a full breakfast, there's these rituals, wacky, strange rituals from the 1920s. We're singing about ham and eggs and secret handshakes. This is the secret handshake.
Oh.
Just between us.
I see. Well,
That's flipping an egg.
Oh, well, what I should have done was say, hello, ham.
Exactly, and then I reply, hello, egg. So there's all these crazy, weird, fun things, and you feel like you're stepping back in time. It feels like a high school assembly from 1950.
Well, when you first walked in, how many members were there at that time?
When I first walked in, we were down to about 12 people. And this was...
Wow. From how many?
Hundreds and hundreds of people used to belong to this club in its heyday. And everyone who was anyone came to the club. Walt Disney came to the club. Will Rogers was a member of the heckling group called the Roosters. And it was a place to be seen in the 20s, 30s, beyond. Ronald Reagan was sworn into the club when he was governor in the 1960s. And the history is so rich.
Well, there was a story that when you just mentioned Will Rogers.
Yes.
And want to tell that story to our audience?
Absolutely. So Calvin Coolidge came to the club in the late 1920s, and he made a speech and was notorious for never cracking a smile. He was a deadpan, serious man. And Will Rogers made a bet with his fellow Roosters that he could make Calvin Coolidge laugh. And we have a receiving line where we do the secret handshake every week. And Will Rogers got up to Calvin Coolidge and shook his hand and kept going, and then quickly turned back and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name."
And broke him up.
And Calvin Coolidge laughed, and Will Rogers collected.
One of the things I know our audience would be thrilled to know is you've mentioned a lot of men, but women weren't really accepted or welcome until when?
Until the 1980s, the early 1980s, when the club kind of dropped in popularity. They decided, all right, we'll open the doors to ladies.
We always come to the rescue.
Yes, we do. And so it became a co-ed club, and because I guess it went out of vogue, these types of organizations, it became, with younger generations, it became more of a seniors club in the 80s and 90s. And then when I found it, it was predominantly seniors, but had dwindled even in that demographic.
You said, what, 12 members?
It was 12 members. And so people didn't know how to get the word out. They didn't understand how to use social media. And they also didn't think people would be interested. And I fell head over heels with the experience.
I mean,
the singing and the community of it and the history, and there's just something magical about 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. at 3201 Riverside Drive in Griffith Park at this place that has so much history. It really gives you a sense of Los Angeles, a sense of place,
and for those of us who didn't catch that, what was the address again?
3201 Riverside Drive, LACA 90027. It's at Friendship Auditorium. It's the Shrine of Friendship, what we call that. And really, the club is all about celebrating friendship. It's all about equality. Everybody is the same. That's why you greet everybody as a ham or an egg.
Oh, so that's how you greet just everybody?
Yeah, everybody.
Oh,
Everybody
in
is
other
a
words,
ham
if I
or an
walked
egg.
in at 7 a.m. in the morning, I would say, hello, ham.
Hello, egg. Yes, absolutely.
Hello, egg. And then you say, no.
And then I would say hello, egg. Yeah.
Right, and I would say hello, ham.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so
Yeah.
I don't say name or anything. I just say the ham.
I
and
mean, you
say the
can
egg.
say your name, but it's also a proper greeting to do that too. Yeah.
Wow, I love that
Yes.
idea. That
Yep.
is cute. That really
Yeah.
is.
And we were actually in the Friendship Auditorium. You did an entertainment program for City Council member Mitchell Farrell.
Right.
Yes, and
So
I
gr-
heard rave reviews.
Thank you. Thank you.
And also want to get you back to the club when you're on hiatus, because
Thank
I
you.
know we do the same day here.
Right.
So
But that would,
Wednesdays.
well,
Yeah. We actually have some
go ahead.
news.
We have some
You can
news.
break the
Oh.
news right now.
I can break the news right now.
Okay, I set
Thank
you up
so much.
perfectly.
I love it. Anyway, what we are going to be doing is changing our day. Now, let me explain this. Why do I love live streaming television? Okay, one reason. Because anyone in the world, number one, can see us at any time, any hour of the day, any day of the week. Once you do it, if I want to go home and see something that you're in, that's say that you're live streaming, and I'm busy on a Tuesday or a Wednesday when you've done it, I can do it on Thursday or Thursday night. I know, to me, the essence of being able to just turn it on anytime is fabulous. So we're going to be doing it on Sundays at 5 p.m.
Oh, that's perfect.
Which is a great day, which would help everybody.
Yes. Right.
I mean, you poor thing. She had a breakfast this morning because today is Wednesday. At what time did you get there?
We got there at 6:45.
At 6:45.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to ask you, the building that you're in now,
Yes.
you were not in that building in the very, very beginning.
In
Am
the
I
very
correct?
beginning, it was the same spot. It was the same land. So these big businessmen, they were horseback riders.
Oh, that was it.
Yes.
Okay.
And they would ride their horses through Griffith Park every morning before work, early. And one morning they decided to build a campfire and have breakfast together. And one of them got up and told a story. And that inspired them to create the Breakfast Club. And they bought a parcel of land, which is where we still are today.
Okay.
They founded the Breakfast Club horse stables.
Oh.
And they built the Garden of Friendship.
Where is that?
And that was where Friendship Auditorium is, in that
Okay.
exact location.
Okay.
And so they had that up until the founder, Maurice Dumont, died and the Great Depression occurred.
Right.
They had to vacate the land, and they went briefly to the ambassador. They pooled their resources. They bought another clubhouse on Los Feliz and built a fabulous clubhouse, which was there until the early 1960s.
Okay.
And then that clubhouse they donated to the fire department to do a practice fire on. So they lit it on fire.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh, my Lord.
They sold the land, and then they lit it on fire,
Fire.
and then they moved back to the original spot, and they built Friendship Auditorium and gifted it to the city of Los Angeles.
Parks, the recreation
Parks
park.
and
there
Rec,
you go. Right.
where we rent it back for $1 a year for Wednesday mornings every week and one Sunday afternoon a month.
Oh my goodness.
And we know
So-
Mitchell Farrell and his staff are tremendous supporters of what
Oh,
you're doing.
yes,
They love
yes,
it.
absolutely.
They're always telling the world, you must find out more about the LA Breakfast Club.
Because it's magical. Anyone
really
who
is,
goes knows that you need to experience it at least once, even if
Okay.
you're not a morning person.
Well, number one, I'm going to ask you a couple of little things here.
yeah.
First of all, since I'm such a big eater, okay, I'm what
Yeah.
they call a nibbler. And that's why I love big breakfast, because I can take a little bit of this, a little bit of that. What do you have for breakfast?
It is a fabulous buffet
That's what I heard. That's what
spread.
I heard.
We have pastries, juice, we have eggs, bacon, sausage, hash browns. Every week we have
Sounds good to me.
oatmeal. We have a specialty dish.
Oh, what is
of-
that? What do you mean a
It
specialty
can be, some weeks it's pancakes, quiche,
Oh.
What was this morning?
This
What did
morning
you do?
we had ham and egg biscuits.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And how many people attended today's breakfast?
Today we had 50 people.
Okay. And if somebody were interested, how do they reach you?
Yeah, how
What
can
is the
someone visit the
website?
club?
What do they do in order to walk through that door?
Well, they can email the club at labc1925@gmail.com. Let me know when you want to come to have breakfast. And if you've seen this show, let me know that you saw this show and you want to come, and I will give you your first breakfast for $5.
Wow. Hello.
Yes.
And we'll put it on the Pink Ladies website
Yes.
so
Okay.
people can find that link and then get in touch with you.
So that is labreakfastclub.com is our website. You can also find us on Facebook. You can please like us and follow our events. We have fabulous speakers. Mitch O'Farrell came
Right.
to speak this
Now, who
morning.
did you, this morning? you
This
had Mitch?
morning
Right.
this morning we had some architects that restored the Church of the Epiphany,
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
which was a
By
historical.
the way, this show is live streamed on Facebook right now.
Oh,
Yes.
my
So
goodness.
everyone who's on Facebook, we were in Boston last week, and the young lady who was the hostess at Chiavelli's Italian restaurant came and said, "You're the Pink Lady. I'm on
saying-
Facebook. I liked you on
I was
Facebook."
like, wait a minute, I'm in Boston. She's, I know. I said, that's what
It's everywhere.
social
Ah.
media is. So.
You are famous. You are
So,
Infamous.
a national treasure.
yeah,
Thank you.
Yes.
But so
Um,
they can go for the breakfast.
right.
You
And
come
then-
to the
Go
breakfast,
ahead.
you sing, you do calisthenics, you
Oh,
do
what do you mean by like calisthenics?
just some stretching and
Okay.
some wiggle waggles.
Okay, like what?
and,
Give me an idea.
Yeah.
Well, the classic ham and eggs exercise
Okay.
is arms out,
Arms out, Dove.
Okay.
Arms out.
then
Come on.
palms up,
Palms up.
then arms out
Okay.
and back,
Back.
palms together,
Palms together.
and down.
And down.
It's very
Basic.
rigorous.
Basic.
Very
I'm
rigorous.
exhausted already. I
Me
need,
too,
I
I
need
know.
more coffee.
Yes,
But
yeah.
tell us, beside Wednesday mornings at 7 breakfast,
Yes.
are there any other activities coming up in the next couple of months during the summer of 2018?
Yes, well, this past Saturday we had a special tour to the Wildlife Way Station.
Oh, is that Tippy Hedren's place?
It's not Tippy Hedren, but it is a place up in Sylmar
Oh,
where
okay.
they take in any exotic
that.
animal
Okay.
Mhm.
that somebody can't
Oh,
handle any longer.
okay.
If somebody has bought a pet by accident, a pet tiger, and can't handle it,
Right.
they can drop it off at the way station. They have chimpanzees. They
Oh, really?
have
Why haven't I
pigs.
heard about
They
that?
have it's a fabulous
Yeah,
organization.
there were some lionesses that were shown. I assume
Lionesses
they have several.
and
Yeah.
say baby lions and little monkeys and
So now,
Okay.
do you do that? How many times do you go on like
so
outings
occasionally we'll do these tours. We also took a tour of Frank Lloyd Wright's Ennis House, which is not open to the public.
Okay.
like that? Oh wow!
Um,
That's- I like
and
that.
Another benefit to the Breakfast Club was because our forebearers were such successful businessmen, they created a foundation called the Los Angeles Breakfast Club Foundation, which
Right
is a
about that.
separate
Yes.
entity, and we are lucky enough to give out grants through the foundation every year.
Okay.
And so we gave a grant to the Wildlife Way Station so that they could purchase a generator.
They didn't have one?
They did not
Oh,
have a
wow,
backup
that's amazing.
generator, and they were in trouble during the fires.
Yes, right.
And they need electricity all the time to keep the food cold, to heat the animals, and
Well, let me ask you something. When the people that began it, like Doheny and all that,
Yes.
and Walt Disney, I understand, was there all the
Mhm.
time.
Yes.
You also had Chandler and her
yes. Okay, so this is one of the photos that I sent in because this was a historic moment at
Yes.
the club.
And when
Harry
people are seeing
Chandler.
it now, right?
Harry Chandler, who was the head of the LA Times, and William Randolph Hearst, who did the Herald Examiner,
Right.
were arch rivals. They were bitter enemies. They hated each other to the core. And one of our symbols about friendship is the buried hatchet.
Okay.
And so the Breakfast Club was created to be a place where people could bury the hatchet and break bread together.
I like that.
And Harry Chandler and William Randolph Hearst had a very famous meeting where they buried the hatchet and they broke bread together in the Garden of Friendship. And that's what the club's all about. There's no politics, there's no religion.
I love that.
We have these strange little symbols about friendship, the golden rule and the golden shovel to dig up the clay.
What is that? What
dig
is-
up the clay of goodness and humanity every week.
Okay.
And there's a steamroller. We're
yeah.
not sure what that is.
Actually, it sounds like a storybook, like a fairy tale
It is
type
a
place.
little bit
Really,
of a
it does,
fairy
Lily.
tale. Yeah.
You also have cryptogram. Now, I have to be
Cryptogram.
honest with you. Dove and Lily, I know they know what all that is. I never realized what a cryptogram was. I don't know why. I just never thought about it. But tell us about it, because you have it right in front of
Yes.
you, and you're seeing it right now, everybody.
This is the cryptogram that we read out loud every week, and this was created by a famous cartoonist from the 20s, and it says FVNEM SVFM FVNE eggs SVF eggs. Oh, I see. VFM and eggs. Can you understand?
Yes. Yes.
It's
Wait a
all
minute.
about ham and eggs.
I got to
We
tell you a
love
cute
ham and
story.
eggs.
We're sitting around having coffee yesterday, and we're looking at your cryptogram, and Dove said, wait a minute, I'm going back to how old were you when you first started this?
6.
6. And he says, I'm going to make one. I said, okay, and he did it. Okay.
Yeah, this is actually not one I created, but one that we had in elementary school back in Boston. It's AB, C to B's, L, M and O B's, SMR. See them? Every kid who graduated from my elementary school knew that by heart.
I love
That
it.
was our
We
first
got to bring it back. The
cryptogram.
cryptogram.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that is so
Absolutely.
different, and it's like, reminds me of, like, do you remember, well, you don't, you're way too young as my granddaughter, but Dick Tracy?
Sure.
I mean, you know, that
Right.
type of thing. I mean, that's
Yes.
always
So
exciting.
I want to go back for one moment. So the summer, we have the rest of June, July, August. What else is coming up? Are there other things? Do you break for the summer, or you go every Wednesday?
Oh, no, we go every Wednesday.
Have
We're-
you ever closed?
We close for 2 weeks over the Christmas holiday, and
Okay.
that's it.
Okay.
Yes.
So-
So coming up, we have, let's see, we have a man talking about, oh my gosh, what is his name? The
Well,
film
one's talking
director.
about some art in the theater and something.
Yes.
I'm trying to
Well,
think
we
what it
have
is.
a historian about In-N-Out
Okay,
Burger.
the In-N-Out
Oh,
Burger.
really? Oh,
Yes.
that would
Which
be
is,
fun.
for those
yeah.
watching from around the country, In-N-Out is a regional chain
Right.
of hamburgers. Always,
Good,
the
too.
meat is always fresh. I remember coming to California in 1970 and seeing these long, long lines. I couldn't figure out why.
Yeah.
And they said In-N-Out Burger, a regional chain.
Oh, great. So they're
And
coming. Okay.
then on
Yep.
July 4th, we're even meeting, and we're going to
Oh.
have a patriotic talent show starring the members.
Terrific.
Singing and dancing.
Okay.
And so that'll be fun.
And I bet some
Yeah.
of them aren't really performers, so they're doing it anyway, or are they all performers that are doing it?
I think, yeah, there's a little bit of a mix.
Okay,
A little bit
that
of a
would be
mix
fun.
there. Yeah. We've got David Rue, another city
Oh,
councilman
Sure.
yeah, I love
coming.
David. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of good stuff. A
That's
lot of
great.
Hollywood history, and
Well,
yeah.
let me just say something. You had in the beginning a fee, and I was looking at it in the very beginning. It was like, and back in those days, that kind of shocked me a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It was $500 a year.
In 1925.
Yeah, and now that 500 in 1925 was like what, maybe
A lot
4,000 or
of money.
5,000
A lot of
today,
money.
literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, though, ladies and gentlemen watching this program,
A special from
a
Pink Lady
special,
Presents.
yeah, a special, okay, $100 a year
Yes.
membership. Am I
Yes,
correct?
You're correct.
And what does that get me? And I love it.
Well, guests pay $15 for a breakfast, and when you become a member, it goes down to $10 every week. You get access to these exclusive tours. You get fellowship and friendship, and
Well, I have to tell you, I
Priceless,
feel it is
priceless.
priceless, and I feel like I've known you forever, dear
Oh,
heart.
I know.
And I have to tell everyone now that you have to understand who I'm sitting with here. I'm sitting with a working actress, someone who's been there, done everything. I wanted to tell them about your latest endeavor, which I think you're very excited about, and I know I am too, is called Lady Killers.
The Lady
which
Killers,
you're a co-producer.
Yes.
And that's something that you haven't done before.
That was my
correct?
first producing effort, yeah.
And then if someone would like to see you, Home to Roost is coming up?
Oh, that one, maybe.
Okay.
But what's coming out is called Funny Story.
Oh, okay.
And that's a good one. And also the, what is it called? It's a dystopian, The Thinning 2. It's very big with the kids on the YouTube.
Okay.
The Thinning is one of those teen dystopian movies.
And you have to explain that to me because I don't know what that means.
So it's a futuristic world where to deal with overpopulation, they take a test. And if they fail the standardized test, they get axed.
Ouch! Okay.
So,
wow, I got to
yes.
see that. And when is that coming out?
So that should be coming out towards the end of the year, as well as Funny Story and The Lady Killers. I'm excited about will be premiering in the fall, and I produced that, and am also an actor in that.
I love it.
So,
I love it. Now, did you always want to act?
Always.
Always. And how young were you when you first started?
I can't even remember. I remember when I was about 7, I was going to put on a Christmas pageant for my family, and I was stretching as if I was in a Broadway audition in my parents' room, and I turned to the invisible person next to me and I said, "So, how long you been in the business?"
I love it. Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah.
That's a great story. I mean, well, first of all, I am excited. Los Angeles Breakfast Club should be your destination, everyone that's out there in the audience today watching us, because to me it sounds like history, it sounds like a fun place, entertaining. I mean, it's just all that in one. Plus, now, are you there all the time? I mean...
no, it's just every Wednesday morning for the most
No, but what I meant
part.
is every Wednesday. Are you
I'm there. Yeah, you can meet me. And one thing
please.
I do want to add, because this is your topic, this is your issue, is the age diversity that we have there. Our oldest member is in their 90s, and our youngest is 25.
Great.
And that's so important to me.
Right.
I grew up every weekend at my grandmother's house. I love the older generation. I think it's so important to blend everyone, to integrate it.
Sure.
And,
one of the things I want to mention to our viewing audience is we know that this show is live stream, and we know that we have people in Boston, in St. Louis, in Naples, Florida, all over the country. So for those who are in Southern California, you can very easily get to the LA Breakfast Club. But for those of you who may be planning a visit to this area, if they get in touch with Lily Holleman a week or 2 or 3 before, then you have the opportunity to be a guest at a true landmark historic organization and meet some magnificent people in a place where many magnificent people have met. And we encourage you to do that, and there are, from time to time, you will see the Pink Lady and Chaplain DOV, and we'll say welcome to our city.
Well, what I'm
even
gonna
the
say
day
is,
before you can
Well, what I'm going to
contact
say
me.
is, hello, Ham.
There you
Hello,
go.
Egg.
And there we go. Thank you so much, Lily.
Thank
You're
you.
just, you're precious,
You're
precious.
spectacular.
We will be right back. Hi, Pink Lady here.
At 76 years young, Jackie Goldberg is known to many as the Pink Lady.
Actually, it started 40 years ago. I was a sales rep, and I was walking down the hallway one day, and someone yelled, "Hey, Pink Lady!" And my husband, who was a marketing genius, said, "Do you want to be known in our business? You are now the Pink Lady."
What started as a marketing gimmick quickly grew into a way of life. Her home is painted in a cotton candy color, and each room is adorned in various shades of pink. Her closets burst of pink right down to the shoes, specially dyed just for her.
it's such an uplifting, loving color that to me, when I put it on in the day, 6 o'clock in the morning, wow, I feel good.
This energetic, proud grandmother has always had a zest for life and has reinvented herself once again, taking up acting, starting her own magazine, and inspiring seniors to do the same with her Get Up, Get Out, and Get a Life seminar.
And my philosophy of life is to think pink, is to feel the aura and the energy that a color can give you in looking through life through rose-colored glasses.
For SoCal News, I'm Jessica Rosales.
A wacky, wonderful woman lives in this pink house. She decorates in pink. She dresses in pink. And she thinks pink.
Hi, I'm Jackie Goldberg, known as... We are back, and I am really excited. I get excited and I get really excited over here because today I have my adopted daughter with us, okay? Life is a journey, but before I'm going to begin that, I want to thank everybody out there for sending your emails in to us, and we have a winner. And the winner is A. Beckins from El Cerrito. And Mr. Beckins, guess what you're getting? You are getting a really gorgeous painting from Chow Yun, a famous Chinese painter. And it's, he wrote on...
A poster of freedom.
There it is.
The original painting hangs in the White House.
Yes.
And this is signed by the artist. So we'll be sending this out to you later today or tomorrow morning.
So please, everyone, email us, giving us your comments, telling us maybe you'd like to be on the show and why. And we pick one of your emails every week. And then you know what we do with that?
What?
We get a prize.
Ooh.
Like Chow Yun or my book, Get Up, Get Out, and Get a Life.
I want that one.
I know. I am today, I have a friend here. But not only a friend, I have someone who is talented, creative, an illustrious lady, but most important, someone who is warm right from the inside to the outside. She is a famous, famous designer, costumer, and Closs-Farley. Look at you.
Thank you. You love
Woo!
this?
Yes, I love it.
I brought
Now, if
my
that
bubbles.
was like pink with little pink, white little dots and stuff, I could take that from you.
That's why it's not pink.
It is adorable. You know what? I don't even know where to begin. Where did we meet? That was the first thing. Where did we meet?
You called me up and invited me to the Pig and Whistle. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That's right.
Oh my God.
And you performed
Yes.
a magic trick. Do you remember what that was?
No, I don't.
Well, you were big as life. Your personality was like beaming from the booth, and I was like, "Who is this? I love this person." And you said, "Excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom." And then you walked down, and I was like, "Who is this magical pink being?" And I was like, "This is forever. Our relationship is forever. I don't care what you're about to ask me. I'm going to say yes."
Doesn't matter. Yes, right. Yes, before
Well,
that.
you know, pink is in my business of work.
Well,
You
yes.
know, and the color pink is universal love. I'm sure you know that.
I do
right?
know that. And I also saw a really cute video of you the other night. And on it, there is Anne live, radiating, full of piss and vinegar. I mean, fabulous. I can say that. It's
Yeah.
your live
It's
stream.
live
Sure,
streaming.
sure.
You can say
I
anything.
can say that. With pink hair.
That's right.
Oh, my Lord. Let me tell you, it was adorable.
Well, it was right
Actually,
after
it
I
was
met
really-
you.
That's
You-
it.
I woke up one day and I had pink hair. You infected me.
What is a costume designer extraordinaire? I mean, you know.
Well, I think those are two things separately.
Oh.
Being extraordinary and then being a costume designer is two different things.
Right. So,
But you know, my job is telling stories through clothes, and I do that through the medium of film and television and commercial print and weddings and everything else everybody asks me to do. But my job is to match personalities and clothes and tell the story of characters and people through what they wear.
well,
And
like,
this past year, we were at the Disney Concert Hall.
right?
That's right.
When you
Oh.
tell us a little bit about
That
that,
was
because there
great.
were, what, 100 people, 150? There were
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
was-
people there.
It was an opera at the LA Phil with a director that I work with, Yuval Sharon, who's with an incredible company, but he's an artist in residence there currently. And we did a giant opera from, it was the adaptation of the Trip to the Moon
Right,
movie.
right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
And on stage, it was huge. It was huge.
Oh, it
I
was
had,
great.
you know,
You had
endless amounts of
little
kids.
kids as well.
That's
I mean,
right.
It was like fabulous.
It was the LA Children's Chorus and
Right.
a couple of Hoover School and a couple of other schools got together and did this opera, and it was beautiful. It was really
For
incredible.
those of our viewers that are not from Southern California, the Disney Concert Hall is very much like in Boston. There's Symphony Hall,
Right.
and there's Carnegie Hall, and we have our own that was as a result of the Disney family honoring Walt Disney's memory.
That's right.
It's an amazing state-of-the-art concert facility.
It is, and like a lot of cities now,
Right.
your
Yeah.
orchestras are also supporting opera, and that's important to talk about because opera is struggling to survive
Yes.
and reinvent themselves and how they're approaching, you know, our
Well, they're
younger
becoming,
years.
they're becoming modern. They're becoming
Right.
real.
That's right.
Because years ago, when you saw an opera, it was like, what are they saying? What are they doing? I mean, we didn't get it.
Well, back then, opera was also a church for others
Yes.
who did not attend church, so that you could have an emotional experience together in a room with people. And the words and the music in combination could give you the opportunity to decide for yourself what the story is to you. Right?
But it was a great production, and you did a fabulous
thank
job.
you.
How did you become a costumer? I mean, you were an actress.
I was.
Yeah.
I came to LA to be an actor, even though I have to say that I've been sewing my whole life. It's a skill my mother gave me when I was 7. And I actually would make all the clothes for myself and my sisters at home. So
Oh, really? I didn't
I'm
know
number
that.
9 of
Okay.
14, and I have 8 sisters, and we didn't have a lot of money.
Okay.
So I became very acquainted with the thrift stores in town. And back then I could afford, you know, a blazer and 2 pairs of pants for less than $3.
Oh,
And I could take them apart and put them back together.
and that's what you did.
And that's what I did. And so I wanted to have my own individuality and find my own story lost in a family of 14.
Wow.
And that's basically what I do today. And but I found myself a costumer in Japan on tour.
Tell us about that. That was
Yeah, in the 90s, I actually met my husband on the plane on
Keith,
Valentine's
Keith.
Day. My
Drop
husband
dead
Keith.
gorgeous.
Thank you, I think so.
Amen.
And we went as dance partners and directors on a show.
Because he was an actor.
He
and
was.
is an actor.
He is.
Yep.
He is. And so during that experience of opening this theme park at the bottom of Nagasaki in Japan, I discovered the costume shop, and what they were doing in Japan at the time was really recreating new uses of recycling fabric and plants, using them as new textiles. And what the ladies were doing in the costume shop was something I had never seen before. And I found myself a costumer there while I was performing. I was like, this is my passion. This is what I really love to do. I also, not speaking the language very well, was able to communicate with them through craft.
Right.
And that's when I realized that's the thing that's effortless for me. As much as I love performing, I love singing, I feel like my history...
Because you're so shy.
I'm so shy.
I get it.
But I have to say that training as an actor and a dancer, I feel, has made me such a better designer. I'm much more flexible. I do look at function. I'm much more ready to say, "Oh, that's terrible. Let's try something else." And not a lot of designers do that. I'm like very humble
you're
about
honest,
it
but you're
because
honest.
function is so important. And literally, at the end of the day, I know my job sounds glamorous, but at the end of the day, it's really about collaboration, because I not only work with an author who writes a story, I work with a director who has an interpretation, and then a scenic designer who gives me a setting, and then I then have to go in and dream something up.
Right, for the actors.
For an actor that I meet on first day of rehearsal who's yet to begun their journey.
Yes.
And so then I have to step back again and then hopefully match whatever I imagined that 25% of that will arrive on stage.
How did you do with Pee Wee Herman? I mean, I saw that you did that, and I thought he's adorable. Now, how did you get that?
Paula's like a brother from another mother.
Right.
I didn't discover Pee Wee until I was 13 years old.
Really?
I didn't grow up in a house with a television, and so I actually saw Pee Wee for the first time at someone else's house. And I always thought it was magical, because I definitely have an endless child in my heart.
Yes, you are.
And so when I was called by Alex Timbers, who I'd worked with before, to do the Pee Wee show.
Now, who was he?
He's a Broadway director.
Okay.
And he said, we have a limited budget. We need to make it look like a Broadway show. You're the only one in town we know who can do something out of nothing. Can you come and meet? And I'm like, of course. It was a dream come true.
I love it.
And then and Paul and I became fast friends after that. We speak the same kind of silliness, which is nice. But I have to say, designing for an iconic image, and I was in a series of shows like Toy Story, where I was being asked to design something that's iconic.
Yeah, because Toy Story is completely the other end of Pee Wee Herman.
And I'm very clear about what I love about the Pee Wee Herman show, which no one has been able to reproduce, which is the diversity and inclusion of that show is hidden within all these, gadgets of fun with puppets and insane gadgetry that he likes, the electronics and whatnot. But the mischievousness and the youthfulness and innocence of Pee-wee is the lesson of being open to everyone, from, everybody in the show was a child to someone who was of color to someone who is sexually open.
How
like
long
all
were you
of that show diversity was so powerful to me that
How long were you doing that with Pee Wee Herman?
We did that show pretty quickly for the Nokia here, and before it moved to Broadway, and because everybody knew the Pee Wee product so well, we were able to dig into it pretty quickly.
With Toy Story, how did you? I mean, to me, I like everyone is seeing the picture now. I mean, to me, it's like that's magical to me, is seeing all the costumes, the colors. I mean, that's where your creativity, and it's also your creative activity has journeyed to your two children. She has two great children. She has a son, Vice, who's drop dead gorgeous, who is an who's going to be, not yet, but he will be, an astrophysicist.
That's right.
mean, like, hello.
That's what he's going to college for.
And then her daughter Ruby, who's going to be 16, I think, tomorrow. Happy birthday, Ruby. She happens to be sitting right here in our audience. Anyway, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
So Toy Story to me was exciting, too.
Toy Story was frightening to me.
Really? Why?
When Disney approached me, they had come to see a local show that I worked on for 9 years called the 99-Cent Store Show. And this show was done at Bootleg Theater. And it was a real community show where the rules were, if you couldn't find it at the 99-cent store, it couldn't be on stage. So all the clothes and costumes, all the costumes and sets were all made of 99-cent product. And it was probably the first thing in my life that I ever built uncensored. I would have to make something like 250 to 500 costumes in 2 weeks. And I couldn't plan it out. I just had to churn it out. And it was hard because these shows would get extended and last for 3 months.
Wow.
And so this product had to live through that time. And over the years, we developed it to be an incredible feat where I would invite other designers to participate. I would invite locals. I had moms and grandmothers, and then it became a giant holiday party where everybody would get together for 2 weeks. And literally it became about community and communion. And what came out of that show was something I can't describe. It's half spiritual and half beauty, and it came out of the guts of that Silver Lake area, you know?
Right.
And people would flock to this show because it was such a spectacle of joy.
When was that?
That happened through the 2000s to 2009.
And we have to segue from that to your being in Shanghai and doing the costumes for
Disney, for Shanghai Disneyland. So
and how
that
many
relationship
people,
with Disney.
I mean, from the 99-cent store to Disney
Right.
in China.
That's right. Well, with Toy Story, when they invited me to the table, I literally felt unworthy immediately.
Really?
I said, "Why would you ask me to do this? I don't know anything about puppetry. I don't know anything about the scope of that project." And it took me about 6 months to realize that I had to, just like anything,
Right.
if you don't have any money, you still have to think outside the box. And if you have a lot of money, you still have to think outside the box. And so this one was, how do you call upon something you don't know and learn it, and be humble to learn more, which is what I did. I felt like that project was like my grad school in going to the next level. And then I asked myself, what do I love about Toy Story, which I think is a perfect film.
Right.
And the design is absolutely perfect. And what can I learn from it? And what I learned from Pixar, which is lighting is everything.
Yes.
And the lighting became, if you look at that film, and I've seen it millions of times, the lighting creates an emotional valve as well. It gives you the time of day and the lighting in the clothes, from the sunshine that hits your clothes to everything that cooperates in an emotional...
It's like an awakening.
Yes.
Definitely.
So I found, working on Toy Story, I met some incredible artists like Michael Curry, who built all the costumes for Lion King, and Paul McAveen, Bill Hargates, all of these incredible vendors who helped teach me and also accept my philosophy through these clothes to create what we did. And they had asked me, can you interpret this in many different ways? I think I designed the show, over 400 designs for that show, to really understand that what I really wanted to see was Rex. I didn't want to see anything else besides that cartoon come to life. And on opening night, when they came out and I heard those kids gasp and just couldn't believe that they were seeing something that looked like the live cartoon on stage, worth it, worth every decision.
It had to be.
Yeah.
Well, when you did Disney, how many costumes did you actually have to make? Meaning, how many people did you have to make?
Well, the crew, that was for the cruise ship,
Right.
and they have their own matrix of, like, your Peter Pan plays your Mr. Pig.
Okay.
Like, they have 4 or 5 different shows they do on the show, so it's a finite amount of people.
Right.
But when you're doing, Shanghai Disneyland, that's endless amount of people for decades that they will wear those costumes.
Now, they were, when they say Shanghai Disney, I think like if you were in Japan, some of the stature of the ladies are tinier. Am I correct? Or Chinese? I mean, are they like we are? I mean,
Yes.
there's no challenge with that.
No, I mean, the Chinese people are of all sizes and shapes and athletics, and depending on what show I worked on, you would never know. There are Chinese basketball players who are 6'2".
Wow. And then another one that I know that was acclaimed, but it was a rough show for you to do because it was challenging, was Zoot Suit.
Zoot Suit, yes, another iconic show that we did at the Mark Taper Forum in LA last year. Yes, Zoot Suit has a history all to itself.
Yes, it does.
And again, my job is part being a history buff. I have to do a lot of reading.
I didn't realize that.
Zoot Suit is all about the history of Hispanics in LA and a certain culture of people who express themselves through these clothes.
Right.
And that they were demonized during the war for purchasing extra cotton fabric when there was a ration for it for the war. So literally, you can interpret it in many ways, and you should read about this situation because it is very complicated. Because I feel like politically, these young men and women were demonized and took on something that was unnecessary and prejudice.
And you didn't copy what most people thought of as a zoot suit.
No.
You were much more inventive. And I remember seeing what you did. Tell us a little bit about what people immediately think versus what you did.
Well, I mean, I think that one of the largest things that I found out, because we now have the internet,
Yes.
and this is the first time I started Googling a lot of Zoot Suit information, where Google was just bringing it to me. And that was just like, whoa, that's, my partner Google now in research. And I think what we know now is when Zoot Suit first happened, it was usually portrayed that these young adults were much older than they were. And what I found that these were children. I mean, they were dressed up to go to a dance with carnations, and they were young, super young. Some of these girls were, from 13, 15 years old.
Wow.
They were young. They were your kids going out to a dance when this all happened.
I'm listening to everything that you've done and do. How do you navigate? I mean, you've got 2 children. You have a husband who is a working actor, and he's also a teacher of voiceover, Keith, and he is, as I said, really excellent. How do you navigate family, career? I mean, what do you do besides be you?
And we know from having known you and Keith and the kids that they're young adults and they have their heads screwed on correctly.
Yes, they do.
And it's not easy growing up in today's society. To have all of that going on and still to be humble and modest and proactive and want to make the world a better place and not just sit back and say, I have a mom and dad, they'll take care of me.
No,
your kids aren't like that.
No, we're lucky that we're both in the arts,
yes.
So we both understand our needs and where we're coming from. And I think when we decided to have kids, we both sat down and talked about the sacrifice we were willing to make, and that is things that we didn't need. We didn't have a lot of money when we first started, and both of us would trade off. And I remember with Vice, we would, like, you go see a movie Saturday and I'll see it Sunday, and we'll talk about it Monday.
I love
so
that.
So couldn't afford daycare. We lived in a very small apartment for a really long time. And I remember friends coming over and they're like, oh, you live here? And we kept it really super small. But I have to say that once we moved from the apartment, we realized as a family we had a little Woody Allen experience where we had this very tight-knit family where what we gave each other was time and space and love. And it became all about that kitchen and being around each other all the time. And when we finally bought a house, no one went into the living room for months because it was too much space.
Well, yeah.
And I think what we realized in the end was that we got to travel a lot because we live small, and so we got to expose our kids to a lot. My favorite story is my friend is a director, and he said, I'd like you and the family to come to Cleveland to do Around the World in 80 Days, which is a wonderful adventure show. Right. And it was during the holidays, and he cast Keith as the lead and asked me to design. And he said, the kids will come into the room and help us, and help us, in the room. And it became such a bonding experience because the kids are from Southern California, and now they're in the snow, and then the lobby is filled with the holiday trees. Wow. And it was a really magical experience, and I'll never forget sitting at the dress rehearsal, last dress rehearsal, and the show is over, and I look over and both my kids are crying, and they said, look what we did. Look what we did together. This was amazing. And ever since then, I felt we bonded, and my kids never worried about what I was doing outside and what their dad was doing outside, and we'd come home and they'd say, how was tech? Oh yeah, right. How was this? And then we began a dialogue, so there was no competing. Work wasn't competing with family life, and my kids are creative. I mean, one of the 99-cent store shows was so funny because Keith and I were both in it. The babysitter called sick, and we brought Ruby with us. Vice was sitting in the audience watching with a friend. I love it. And then halfway through the show, Keith looked at me and he said, oh, we're both on in this next number because we thought we figured it out. And I said, what? And he hands me the baby and he leaves. And I have the baby and I'm about to go on and sing.
I love it.
And so I looked at Ruby and she was laughing, and I got her butt naked. I put her in a plastic bag. I duct taped her to my waist. I put a birthday hat on her, and I went out. And the crowd went wild.
Oh my God, that's Ann Closs-Farley. I mean, first of all, what's plans do you have for coming up right now? What's your immediate?
Well, I'm working for Carnival Cruise Lines, doing some projects with them, and I'm doing a big new project for Universal Studios. That's my big one. I'm doing a small theater show for a friend of mine, Lindsay Alba, at the Echo called Cry It Out Loud, which is wonderful because she's a new mom, and it's a really great show about the complexities of leaving your children at home for the first, leaving your children in daycare for the first time.
I can't tell you, and I'm going to tear up if I do. I just will. I am blessed, and I mean really blessed, to know Ann Closs-Farley, because to me, she epitomizes what my world is right now with entertainment by being the heart of what she's doing, making people happy and keeping her family together with a creativity, with a love, with a passion, with a dedication that not a lot of people have today. Thank you, Ann Closs-Farley, for being here. Happy birthday, Ruby. Vice, good luck being an astronaut. I want to be there when they shoot you up to the moon, give you a farewell. I mean, I'm only 85 3/4. I'm going to be there.
Yes, you are.
God bless everyone. Thank you so much for being with Pink Lady. Remember, it ain't over until you say it's over. And for me, it ain't ever going to be over. God bless. Thank you.
See you next time,
Thank
folks.
you.
You're alive, so come on and show it. There's such a lot of laughing and singing and dancing and living for
You're listening to Pink Lady Presents, only on LA Talk Radio.